I'm very happy in what I do. I feel the fire and the purpose. It's network marketing, but I'm at the start of the journey. But put me back with old friends in the world for a day or two with my wider non-network marketing community, and I come back to it with mild panic, trying to enter my thoughts and wondering why I'm doing this. Is this really going to work? And am I fake? Is this normal? No, it's not normal. It's predictable. Relax. Emma, I can promise you now that by this time you'll have heard me 1,000 times in your headphones. Environment beats will. And so when it comes to understanding that if you're doing something proactively around a group of people, George Zaleki talks about this, when you're hanging with the I cans, your language pattern starts to take on the I can. When you start hanging with the I can'ts, guess what happens? Your language pattern starts taking on the I can't language pattern. It's basic, law of peer group, law of conformity. Environment beats will. So at the start of your journey, what got you into this network marketing, especially, and I'm assuming here, but I'm usually fairly on point. Forgive me if I'm not. But what gets you in the start is something that you felt. That's why you've got the fire and the purpose. You feel it. There's part of you that knows. Your heart is like, I do want this. I can feel it. That kind of letting yourself have that permission to start with, it's quite fragile. If you're new at this, there's a lot of excitement that doesn't have enough references. So you feel, but you need to have a little bit of faith in what it is that you're doing. And faith is the flip side to the coin of doubt. In other words, if your faith is bigger than your doubt, you will move forward. If your doubt is bigger than your faith, you will question and hesitate. And the reason that faith is required at the start of your network marketing journey is that you don't have enough personal references yet that people can't talk you out of. See, if I was to lose all my businesses tomorrow, do you think I'd go get a job? I am allergic to employment. Right? I break out in poverty. It's horrible. Right? So I wouldn't be sitting there and thinking, oh, damn, what if the next business I have doesn't? I've got too many references for knowing that I will be able to pull something out of the bag that nobody's talking me out of. You follow? I've got too much experience in my movie of times when I don't know if I can make payroll on Friday, and right now it's Thursday afternoon, to know that a solution will present itself. So I'm not going to panic. I've got too many references. You can't talk me out of it. Right? Dr. Joe says the same thing at his seminars. He's like, you can't tell me this doesn't work. You can't tell me you're too old. You can't tell me you're too young. You can't tell me that your cancer's too far. You can't tell me any of that because I've seen too many people with all of that get well or change or transform. So he's got enough references that you can't tell him his work. If he hangs around with 10 people that don't believe in his work, do you think that's going to impact him? No. So at the start of your journey, you need to be very protective when you don't have enough references yourself, where you can be talked out of it because the environment that you're in is bigger than the faith that you have. That's why you need to get to a place of knowing. See, I know that no matter what happens in the business world for the next 50 years, I'm never going to be employed. Don't have to be. I have too many references for understanding how to capitalize, attract, and execute on opportunity. Alpha Flow business is my 29th business. And I'm as excited about this, if not more, than I was my first one. 18, so I'd have been 1990. And as a result, I remember the first time, it's on my magic moments list. It was done through a thing back then, which some of the young people will never understand, called self-addressed envelopes. We would advertise, send in a self-addressed envelope and I'll send you an information pack, Holy wow. Try explaining that to a millennial, right? And I'm like, You didn't have an autoresponder? Yeah, on a landing page. It's part of your funnel. So, and I remember I put this advert out and I got 3 letters the following day land on the, I was living with my parents. 3 letters landed on the porch. And I'm like, it works. I'm so excited. Right? That was my first time I was really, really excited on starting a business that I had no references for at that point. Yeah, on there. So the toys were different. I'd done like flea markets and car boot sales stuff, but this new mail order thing I was trying, right? And I'd put all the work in and written this book, and I said, but I was excited. But I'm just excited, if not more excited, about this one, which is what 35 years later. So I know who I am when it comes to my relationship to business. I don't have to talk myself in or out of getting in the office. Yeah, that's the swimming pool I like to play in. Some of you, the whole arena of business, you don't want to dip your toe in because you're scared the shark's there. It's condition yourself or just be mindful of where it's at. But in the early days, hang around with people because you can borrow other references. If you're hanging around with your sponsor and your sponsor's been in for 6 months and they're making $2,000 a month, you've got a reference. You go talk to 4 people that think network marketing is a pyramid scheme and you're scamming people or your product sucks or anything else, you'll start doubting. So when I first started my business, and Craig and I used to train in the gym together at the local leisure center gym because it was only 30 pence to get in. That's because all we could afford. So we'd train together in the gym because he'd like training, I like training. And when this was about, I think I was 17. And I was telling him about this toy business I wanted to start. And I was going to go and do this thing. And he basically spent the entire workout trying to talk me out of it. Why? Because he cared about me, ultimately. Some of you think your negative friends don't like you because they don't want your potential. They probably care about you. Part of it is also driven by the fear that they don't want you to be more successful from them because it takes away their excuse. But that's usually a psychological second layer fear. But Craig was like, and I remember the language. I remember to this day, I can still vision it. We're sitting in the changing rooms, in the wooden lockers, right? And he's telling me, stop these stupid thoughts of starting your own business. What if I'd listened? But you're going to get that. Isn't that, especially if people have seen you in not that role. So if I go to any of you guys, you've only ever known me as a business owner. If I was to sit down and have lunch, we've got several EMFers and USMers and people here at the event on there. If I'll sit down with them and say, I'm thinking of starting a new business. They're not going to say, I wouldn't do that if I were you. Right? No one's going to say that because they know who I am. Right? But you need to know who you are. And you need to really anchor that in and protect that level of identity before you go out in the wider world and invite people for their own reasons to try to talk you out of it or remind you of your limitations or remind you of the time you tried something and didn't stick with it. Yeah, it's just what you want to hear when you're going into something new, isn't it? Right?